Hello, how is everyone doing? This is Mr. Murrin coming to you from the Murrin Family Outpost here in the Woodlands, Texas. I am a little under the weather, been running a little bit of a fever, have a headache. I've taken two of those government issue rapid tests for COVID-19. Both of those have come back negative, so that's good. I did do one of those fancy tests that take a couple of days at CVS yesterday, so hopefully I'll hear back from those. And hopefully, hopefully I'll hear back from that, and that one will be negative as well. So I'm not really sure if I'll be back on Friday or not. I did want to take this, make this video though, and send this out to everyone, especially the Green Day students, because I was not there yesterday to go over this assignment with you. Of course, you have the assignment available to you on the Canvas, like on the Canvas calendar, like every assignment. It's not hard for you to keep up with things in this class because I put everything on the calendar and make it available for everybody. And so, if you did what you're normally supposed to do, you should have gone to the calendar and seen that, oh, hey, here are the directions for the poetry explication essay that we're going to write. And here is the rubric for it. And here are the poems from which you can choose. Now I just kind of want to go over in this assignment and kind of put some things into my own words and kind of give you an example of if you were to write one, what might that look like if you were to write one over, One Perfect Rose, okay? So you can kind of gauge what it is that you're doing with these poems and what I say here. And then what I want to do is I just want to read through the poems with you. You can follow along as I do that. I think it's helpful for you to hear them as well as see them because I know that some of you have a habit, and it's a habit you need to break when it comes to reading poetry. You have a habit of of reading just to the end of the line and stopping. Or when you see a word rhyme at the end, you stop right there because you all are used to listening to music, especially popular music. A line usually consists of a complete thought and it ends with a certain word. And then the very next line is a complete thought and it rhymes with a word that rhymes with that word. And poetry normally does not follow that, okay? Poetry may still rhyme, but the thought or the sentence may carry over to the next line, and that doesn't mean that you stop at the end of a line. You read according to the grammar. And a lot of times I think if you hear it according to the grammar, it makes a little more sense to you. All right, so I'm going to do that. But let's take a look at the assignment itself. You can pull it up if you want to. Pull it up if you want to and follow along. That's perfectly fine. And so I begin with saying, we have spent a lot of time with various analyses, so this is yet a different kind, all right? No worries, though. This is the simplest of them all, and I firmly believe that. I believe that this is the easiest type of literary analysis piece to write, especially the way that we do it here. And I feel that the TPCAS model that we've been working with is a model that very much contributes to, it'll provide you with everything that you need. You'll see what I mean here in a second. It will provide you with everything that you need so that you can take it on and do whatever you need to do. All right? Says, this is the simplest form of them all. Okay, honestly, what you need is to paraphrase a poem or summarize the poem, put it in your own words, and then lead into your thesis, which is a straightforward statement of theme. All right? So paraphrase and theme. Those are two things that TPCAS gives you. But the theme statement is your thesis. All right? Basically, this is what the poem is about. All right? And then from there, get into the nuts and bolts of the poem, the nitty-gritty. Acknowledge the importance of the poet's or the speaker's word choice, connotation, that's what you're supposed to do. Literary devices, which often fall into that whole connotation thing. And tone, attitude, part of the, the A of the TPCAS. Everything is here. TPCAS gives you everything that you need. As you do this, make sure your commentary points back to the thesis or points back to the theme. I'll explain this here in just a minute. The nice thing about an explication is that when you run out of poem, you run out of essay. You're done. All right? So essentially it's like this. Let me put it, just in a nutshell. You're going to summarize the poem. Put it in your own words. What is it? What happens in it? And then that's going to lead you into, and this is what it means. And then after you state as your thesis, the last sentence of your introductory paragraph, I want you to pretend like I'm looking over your shoulder. And you say, this is what the poem means. And I look over the shoulder and I say, well, what makes you say that? How do you know that? And then you can say, well, look, let me start at the top and let me point out all the things that led me to understand the poem the way I do. And you're going to go from top to bottom and you're going to write this essay following the structure of the poem. And when you run out of poem, you run out of essay. You're done. So TPCast gives you everything that you need, and the poem gives you the structure for your essay. It's that easy. There are some bullet points here. If you want to look those over from Duke University's writing studio, maybe you've heard of Duke University, and it really gives you some things to consider. And I'll let you look at those if you feel you need them. But really, I'm going to show you exactly how this works. So let's say, for example, we have One Perfect Rose by Dorothy Parker. I would say, I begin, and I'm just riffing here. I'm just making this up off the top of my head. In Dorothy Parker's One Perfect Rose, there is a speaker, female speaker, who is considering the gift of a single rose that her boyfriend, whomever, significant other, has offered her. She begins by acknowledging that he's given her this flower. She also acknowledges that she can tell by the condition of the flower that it was that he took his time. He put some effort into choosing it. Chose just this right, beautiful flower that was just fresh off the bush. She then goes on to say that she understood why he gave it to her. That it was a message of love or a message of affection, and that his emotions were tied up in the offering of this rose. But she ends the poem by considering for a second, why is it that I always get the same thing? Why doesn't somebody express their feelings for me in a unique way by providing me with something completely out of the ordinary, or something a little more expensive or a little more lavish or whatever to fit the intensity of their emotions? But she ends with a little bit of a resignation to say, no, it's always the same old thing. And then that would get me to my thesis. The poem is essentially an examination of the human desire to want to be treated as the unique individuals that we are. Something like that. Then I would go back from the top and say, this is evident because at the very beginning we see that the speaker is keeping count. She knows very well how many flowers, roses, whatever, okay, this person has given her by the use of the word single. This is a very important word, and it tells us a lot. It tells us that she is acutely aware of the fact that there has only been one gift. So, if she's going to examine this, we should be aware that she's going to examine nearly everything else about this particular rose. She goes on into the second line to point out and acknowledge that he chose this tenderly, and that this was significant to him because he wanted it to act as a messenger, because this rose was not just a gift of a flower, something that smells nice. It was meant to convey an idea. She acknowledges as well the beauty of this rose, that he obviously did a good job because it's deep-hearted, she says. Which indicates, maybe, that this is a red rose, the only possible mention of a color, but that the message was from the depths of his heart. She also uses the word pure in association with this messenger, the rose, which implies that he has a lot of that his emotions are upstanding. And it's interesting too that it still has dew on it, which means that he felt a sense of urgency to want to get this into her hands. That's how important it was for him to deliver this message to her. Something like that, okay? Where you just go from the top to the bottom and you pick out all of the things that TP Cast requires you to do. And that's what this is going to do. This is going to just essentially show me that you were able to pick this poem apart, that you were able to look at its small units and tie those small units back up to the bigger picture, which is the theme. That's it, all right? If you do a good job and you really pay attention to your TP Cast, most of your work is done. You just got to write it out, okay? I don't want any of this like, these words have positive connotations, these words have negative connotations. All right, that's not going to do it. I know a lot of you tried that whenever you did the presentations, but that was a little phoning it in, okay? You need to get to those words and what they mean within the context. Not are they thumbs up, thumbs down in the context, okay? That was kind of cheap. All right, let's look at the poems themselves. The first one is Out, Out by Robert Frost. All right, I kind of look at this one as the opposite of Janet Waking. All right, Out, Out by Robert Frost. It says, the buzzsaw snarled and rattled in the yard and made dust and dropped stove-length sticks of wood, sweet-scented stuff when the breeze drew across it. And from there, those that lifted eyes could count 5 mountain ranges, one behind the other, under the sunset, far into Vermont. And the saw snarled and rattled as it ran light or had to bear a load. And nothing happened. Day was all but done. Call it a day, I wish they might have said, to please the boy, by giving him the half hour that a boy counts so much when saved from work. His sister stood beside him in her apron to tell them, supper. At the word, the saw, as if to prove saws knew what supper meant, leaped out of the boy's hand, or seemed to leap. He must have given the hand. However it was, neither refused the meeting, but the hand. The boy's first outcry was a rueful laugh, as he swung toward them, holding up the hand, half in appeal, but half as to keep the life from spilling. Then the boy saw all, since he was old enough to know, big boy, doing a man's work, though a child at heart, he saw all spoiled. Don't let them cut my hand off. The doctor, when he comes, don't let him, sister. So. But the hand was gone already. The doctor put him in the dark of ether. He lay and puffed his lips out with his breath, and then the watcher at his pulse took fright. No one believed. They listened at his heart. Little, less, nothing. And that ended it. No more to build on there. And they, since they were not the one dead, turned to their affairs. All right. Now that one's long, of course, but it's narrative. There are other ones that are shorter that may actually require you to focus on more words, and I'll show you what that is like here in just a second. Let's look at My Papa's Waltz by Theodore Rothke. My Papa's Waltz. The whiskey on your breath could make a small boy dizzy, but I hung on like death. Such waltzing was not easy. We romped until the pans slid from the kitchen shelf. My mother's countenance could not unfrown itself. The hand that held my wrist was battered on one knuckle. At every step you missed, my right ear scraped a buckle. You beat time on my head with a palm caked hard by dirt and then waltzed me off to bed, still clinging to your shirt. Right? This one a lot of people are going for. Grass, the next poem, Grass. This is the one a lot of people are going for because it's short. But there's so much here. I think when you really start picking it apart, you're going to see that there's more you're going to have to address than meets the eye. All right, this is Grass by Carl Sandburg. Kind of reminds me of There Will Come Soft Rains. Pile the bodies high at Austerlitz and Waterloo. Shovel them under and let me work. I am the grass, I cover all. And pile them high at Gettysburg, and pile them high at Ypres and Verdun. Shovel them under and let me work. 2 years, 10 years, and passengers ask the conductor, what place is this? Where are we now? I am the grass, let me work. All right, a lot of people are like, oh, that one's short, okay? Yeah. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 very important battles mentioned. And if you do not do due diligence to look into those, have you really done your job? Why were those the ones chosen? Are those the only battles that ever could have been? Nope. All right? Why were these the ones chosen? What was the significance of that? If you don't really investigate that, then I'm sorry, you're not doing your job. Okay, you need to really look into what's going on in the poem. All right, the last one, I don't really know how this got in here. I normally don't use this one, but for some reason I added it. Whatever. It's by Billy Collins, you know, the guy that we watched that little video of his, you know, the funny, dry sense of humor guy that had the animation with his poems. All right, here we go. This one's called The Golden Years. This one reminds me of The Woodlands, all right? All I do these drawn-out days is sit in my kitchen at Pheasant Ridge where there are no pheasants to be seen, and last time I looked, no ridge. I could drive over to Quail Falls and spend the day there playing bridge, but the lack of falls and the absence of quail would only remind me of Pheasant Ridge. I know a widow at Fox Run and another with a condo at Smoky Ledge. One of them smokes and neither can run, so I'll stick to the pledge I made to Midge. Who frightened the fox and bulldozed the ledge? I ask in my kitchen in Pheasant Ridge. Okay. I often make the joke that the more we keep cutting down all the trees here in the woodlands to build up buildings and apartment complexes, we might have to consider changing the name. There will be no more woods for us to rely upon and have our name The Woodlands. Anyway, so there you go. Those are the poems. That's how you do the assignment. I hope I'm able to return to school soon enough. I hope I hear back from CVS sooner rather than later. Anyway, if you have any questions about this, as always, you can email me, all right? That's your job as a student, to ask questions. And if you have questions, you know how to contact me, all right? So, that's it for me for now. I hope this all makes sense. And you have time. This is due on the 4th, which is Wednesday of next week. And you have all day in class, green days, you have all day Friday to write, you'll have all day Tuesday to write in class, okay? That doesn't mean that the only time you need to write is in class, but at least that's 3-hour chunk of time that I have reserved for you to write during class time, okay? So, there you go. Again, email me if you need to, all right? Hopefully I'll see you soon.